Right Network. Mobilizing, countering the left, energizing the right. New Right Network, home of the New Right movement.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to New Right Network tonight. Your host, Brian Smith and
Carrie Smith.
Giving you all the late-breaking news of the day, wrapping it all up, making sense of it all, exposing the fake news, and giving you the real news. Last night was a huge night for Donald Trump. Big night. If you were hanging out with us, you got to watch him in Grand Rapids, Michigan, as I'm not saying that this is his first 2020 campaign speech, but to launch a 2020 campaign for re-election, the speech couldn't have been any better.
The timing couldn't be any better.
Yeah, that's true too. The timing
Best
was
week ever, without a doubt, and it was just a celebration, a vindication, if you will.
Yes.
I should have done that with a Howard Cosell accent. Oh, boy.
So we've got some incredible news about America, about the direction of America under President Donald Trump. We've also got news about Democrats and their direction. Yikes.
It's fun. It's fun to see the demise.
It is, especially when they continue to embrace policies and ideologies that have been proven wrong over the millennia.
They're going more wrong.
Yes.
Because the old Democrats of ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country has long been replaced with Communist Manifesto for the most part.
Yes, 100%.
Green New Deal.
Adam Schiff doubling down on Russian collusion.
How many times has he doubled down?
This might be like the third or fourth hand.
Little math.
Maybe fifth. Maybe
little math
more.
lesson. There's no such thing as triple down and quadruple down. I've actually said that in the past. That's mathematically incorrect.
Okay.
You double down each time. Every time.
Every
so
time
if you
you
double
down
again, you just double down.
Okay.
So
he's doubled down at least a dozen or
6,
so
7
times.
times.
Yeah, something like that.
It's exponential.
Right. And it's amazing. Nancy Pelosi coming to his rescue.
Are you surprised?
I'm thinking most Democrats are walking away from this guy right about now.
Actually, Swalwell is holding hands with him.
Yeah.
No surprise there. I mean, they're pretty much both programmed by the same programmer.
Soy.
NBC creation. Yeah.
Without a doubt. Donald Trump last night called it pencil neck Schiff. Yeah, never seen anybody with such a small little neck.
Yeah, okay, I'll take it. He's the master of ad hominem.
Yeah,
because he somehow makes it not sound like that. But it is, and it's hilarious.
Yes,
and we'll take it.
And we know for years and years, Rush Limbaugh has referred to Adam Schiff as pencil neck geek Schiff.
I'm glad you brought that up. I almost forgot totally about it. That is clearly an indication that Donald Trump does listen to Rush Limbaugh at least periodically, because clearly that was something that Rush Limbaugh called him.
Right.
Yes.
And so for those of you conservatives, or for those of you who are looking to vote for Trump or not vote for Trump in 2020, that take offense to the way that he speaks, just calm down. It's all right.
It's okay.
It's actually good the way that he speaks, because he's a plain-spoken politician, just 1-2 punch, and that's it. You don't need anything else. If you listened to the show last night, Not our show, Donald Trump's show.
Yeah, you couldn't help but to point it out.
Yes.
Because at one point he was speaking in one-word sentences. Like he was just kind of like throwing words out there that conveyed a message. It did it. Like you could almost be at a first or second grade level and understand. I'll never forget when he was running in 2016, my daughter was only 12 at the time. I'm sorry, 10. 2016. Yeah, she was 10 at the time. And she told me, she said, I like Donald Trump. And I said, and she was referring to him over all the rest of the candidates. It may have even still been during the primary. There was a lot of people involved. And I said, why do you like him over the rest? And she was like, out of all the ones that she hears, he's the only one that she can understand. So,
now, that's not saying something about Trump's level of or his ability to speak.
It doesn't say anything about his intellect. It says his ability to communicate.
Yes.
And it's funny because
and know your audience. Know your audience.
Yeah, and his audience is not necessarily my daughter, but you got to be able to communicate to the widest audience. And it's funny that people would scoff at the idea of calling Trump the great communicator when he clearly speaks very differently than who we previously always referred to as a great communicator, which is Ronald Reagan. And they do have almost completely opposite styles of speaking. But at the end of the day, that's exactly what it is. It's great communicating. It may not sound like something you would want to write in a novel that you would be teaching to 12th grade students. Right. But it gets the message across to people who these are high-level things that people that don't follow politics closely or maybe don't have a very good grasp of history would understand when he says it.
Right.
And he did.
Yep. Definitely. And the Jussie Smollett, or Smollett, as some people pronounce it.
Is it French now? Smollett?
That's the way Wolf Blitzer was pronouncing it.
Oh, my God. They're trying to make this guy like some sophisticated elite of some kind.
This thing has been reeling all week long ever since.
Frenchified him.
Frenchified Smollett.
Smollett. Is there a little asterisk over it or whatever?
Yeah, there's two, like a little carrot symbol.
Is it 2 dots? Oh, that's German.
Oh, that's... Oh, Smollett.
Wow.
Yeah, you don't want that.
No.
So ever since Tuesday when the ruling came down or the agreement came down that there would be no charges, all charges would be dropped, an absolute outrage. Donald Trump weighed in on it. Others have weighed in on it. That this is literally the reason why Donald Trump was elected president of the United States, because we all know that there's nothing but lawlessness when it comes to these politicians. The two-tier system of if you're in, you're good to go. You do whatever you want. If you're not in, then you're going to be hammered for everything.
It's interesting that you say, what I felt like the MAGA movement rose out of the ashes of the Tea Party movement really was all about lying in media, news media specifically, where we knew we were being lied to once we were lied about. I think it was Mike Cernovich and some of the people that were in his movie Hoaxed pointed out that you don't realize how bad the lies are in media until you're in the news. Because they start talking about something that happened to you or something about you personally, and you're just like, what? That's not true. That's not true. And what happened to the Tea Party? They got called racists. And even the ones that didn't take it personally were like, ooh, they're calling the Tea Party racist. Well, I know I'm not a racist.
Right.
And because I'm not a racist, I shouldn't be involved or associated with any organization that is being called racist. So they all ran for the hills, and the entire thing just collapsed on its own weight. And so it was a successful smear campaign by the Democrats to destroy this uprising. And when Donald Trump came along, and everybody knew he was not a racist. Everybody knew this. So when he started getting called a racist, all the old Tea Party people were like, wait a minute, you're lying about Donald Trump. And you said the same thing about us, or the same thing about the Tea Party. And I thought you guys were being honest. I thought, oh, wow, Tea Party's racist? I'm out of here.
Or there is a racist somewhere in the Tea Party.
Yes.
I don't want nothing to do with that.
Yeah, I don't want nothing to do with that. Now, all of a sudden, all these old Tea Party people are like, well, I like Trump, and I know him, and I know he's not a racist. and you're calling them hold on a second. You guys might have been lying about us too. So all of a sudden, more and more and more fake news started coming out, and it started verifying the suspicion of these Trump supporters who were former Tea Party people that they were being lied to, and that is where the MAGA movement came from. And check this out. Let's connect all the dots here. So you have this uprising that came from fake news and the liars in media. What were they lying about, and what was their motivation for lying? We long suspected that they were covering for bad things or covering for an ideology that's a failure. And if the truth comes out about a failing ideology, that it wouldn't be elected. People would not vote for that. And so that's what we suspected. Turns out the worst of the worst is true, which is that they're covering up crime. And why would they be motivated to cover up somebody else's crime? Because either A, they're friends with these people, or B, they're in on it. And now, after all these years, you're starting to see it come straight out into the sunlight with the Jussie Smollett thing, which so ironically, this was just an operation, a false flag operation, that ends up being a microcosm of what has been going on in the deep state for years. And now you see the Mueller report come out, or at least the summary comes out, and you realize that we've been lied to about Donald Trump's collusion with Russia all these months, 22 months. It's all tied together. There's like this thread of a timeline that connects all of it from the Tea Party all the way up until the fall of the deep state, and we're just at the beginning.
This is so early on. Yeah, without a doubt. This tweeted out at Skyrider4538. Chadwick Moore couldn't agree more. There's two sets of rules: one for liberals who are friends with the Obamas and the Clintons, another for general public. POTUS, the Justice Department. When are we going to see some indictments, if ever? ? Hashtag Jussie Smollett's. And this video clip this says everything, folks.
That produced the Obamas. And here we have the perfect stitch-up of the Democrat Party, the entertainment industry, and the media all in one. So what's Jussie Smollett do as soon as it begins to be clear that his lie is unfolding? He hires Harvey Weinstein's crisis control people. And then he hires Mark Garaglos, whatever his name is, the attorney who works for CNN, who is Michael Jackson's attorney, who is Chris Brown's attorney, a man who makes a career getting pedophiles and wife-beaters off the hook. And then we realize that not only did Smollett grow up in a communist household with ties to the Black Panthers, but he also works with Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris was one of the first Democrats to jump on this hoax, this obvious hoax, to use it to advance their own political agenda. And then also on the other side of the political spectrum, you have Kim Foxx. So you have Kim Foxx, Kamala Harris was her mentor. Kim Foxx's campaign was funded by George Soros. We know this now. And all it takes was a phone call from the Obamas for her to drop this prosecution. This is the reason why President Trump won. And this is the reason why President Trump will win again. It's not because Russians are, hiding in your cereal bowl, and it's not because there's Nazis running around and white supremacists. It's this level of corruption. It's this evil level of corruption on the Democratic Party that everyone sees. And, people may be dismayed by this, but I don't think they will be dismayed in November 2020.
The corruption is so deep. And again, folks, we've been saying this for years here on originally Smith Radio and now Smith.tv. New Right Network tonight stands with us on this. Folks, this is all rooted in the leftist ideology, the Black Panthers, the red diaper babies, if you will, being raised in a full-blown communist family environment. Folks, there's right and there's wrong. There's the left that embraces communism, and there's us on the right that embraces free market capitalism and a great religion to know about called Christianity. Everything else is the opposite when it comes to the Democrats.
Absolutely. You know, it's interesting about the connection to the Black Panthers. Little history lesson for you. We all know that it was the Democrats from the bottom to the top who've been abusing black people, the black community, just for how long? They were enslaved by Democrats. They fought a war defending their right to own black people. They did all this kind of crazy stuff in legislation and actually murdered black people running for different offices in the South after they were freed from slavery. Then they became a terrorist organization with the KKK.
Yep.
And they fought all of the civil rights things that were happening in the 60s. When the Black Panthers came along, a lot of people do not realize this. This is interesting. I just learned this recently. The Black Panthers originally started because they felt that they had the right to bear arms. And it was actually a pro-Second Amendment organization for black people. And you could even see the history of it where they marched into, I think it was the California State House with rifles shouldered, armed in the State House.
Right.
And it was at that point that the Democrats decided that we need to start outlawing the right to bear arms in state houses and all this kind of stuff. By the way, the Black Panthers didn't do anything. They just had loaded rifles shouldered, which is actually protected by the Second Amendment. You should be allowed to walk into a state house like that. So everybody freaked out. I shouldn't say everybody. The Democrats freaked out that black people were armed in a state house.
We got to disarm black people.
Right. And check this out. It wasn't until after the Black Panthers were founded that they started to steer in the direction of socialism and communism. I truly feel that they were infiltrated. This is a speculation on my part, but they didn't start out as a communist organization. They started out as a pro-Second Amendment organization fighting against Democrats. I feel like they were infiltrated.
Very, very possible. I mean, look at the Democrat Party. They've been completely hijacked. There's no question about it.
Yeah, I think that Democrats infiltrated the Black Panthers, and not just in the form of introducing communism into their ranks, but also look at Malcolm X, who basically introduced the black community to Islam, Nation of Islam. And Brian and Trevor Loudon and all these people that you've been listening to for years on Smith Radio have been pointing out, and I didn't know this, I had to learn it from these people, that Islam is like, these were the first social justice warriors.
Right.
So there's a very close connection, and Trevor Loudon actually makes the connection in his books that communism and Islam are like
that was my
twins separated at birth.
It was my biggest question for years that I've kept wrestling with. Why does the Democrat Party embrace Islam as much as they do? And then I just started thinking about communism and Islam. And, okay, they both lead to where they both enslave the people, if you will. What is the connection? And Trevor Loudon put it plainly.
Yep.
They're literally identical, different names, always the same result.
And I intellectually rejected it. I didn't say it to him to his face when we were interviewing him, but I remember him, him saying that, and my brain was just like, "Come on, really?"
But in communism, what is the religion in communism?
Atheism.
Right, or the government. Like you worship the government.
Yeah.
They make all your rules and they tell you what you can and can't do, and they are your entire life. Identical in Islam. The government is the religion.
Yeah, it's inseparable, which is why they have Sharia. Sharia is actually a part of. Could you imagine if the Bible also encouraged you to have your government be of, and there have been countries that do that, but we show in America that it's not necessary,
right?
And we keep that separated and all that kind of stuff. But in the Quran, it's basically you must live by this Sharia law, and you should encourage everybody to live by that Sharia law. So, but it's interesting.
You mean encourage them with a bayonet?
Well, if they reject it, obviously you have to kill them. I mean, that's what you have to do.
Right.
I'm just following the letter of the law here. You know what I'm saying?
You're being a conservative Muslim following Islam.
You got to adhere to it. Adhere to it. The doctrine. Like Judge Janine asked.
It was a question.
She just asked it. But my point is that it's interesting that little tidbit, little side note here that I would like to see somebody explore that. Everybody talks about the big switch, which was debunked by Dinesh D'Souza, where years ago it was the Republicans who were more of a freedom, civil rights party, and it was the Democrats who were these conservative, bigoted, racist people, and that at some point it became the Democrats, and there was a big switch and all this kind of stuff. But I wonder if part of that was an infiltration of the Black Panthers. It's kind of interesting.
That is. I certainly see that. And I didn't have this in the show notes, but I found it while you were explaining that. Mm-hmm. AOC retweeted another individual, Abu Assaid. And he's given a talk, and in his talk, he's explaining all the great cities of Michigan, Flint, Michigan, and all the different cities, and all the big used to be booming industries. And, so he's complaining about how these cities that were run, these car manufacturers, that the great migration, as he called it, of blacks moving up there for the job, and they didn't get the best jobs. No, of course they didn't. And literally trying to make it seem like black Americans are victims of these cities and victims of big corporations. You kind of see where this is going. Mm-hmm. So she retweeted that out. And the whole problem with that is, because I retweeted it, I said, who ran these big cities?
Yeah, it was the Democrats.
Who ran these auto manufacturers? Certainly not the CEOs. These unions. These unions would not allow Democrat unions. Very, very racist back in the day.
Okay.
You have a black man coming up from the South, wherever.
He had to become a member of the union to even get the job.
Yes, and you had to probably display a level of skills. I mean, obviously you're going that way for the job. The union will find you a job. You might be sweeping the floors. You might not want that, but they ain't going to give you nothing else.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I mean, it was. Look at some of the movies that depicted unions and union bosses and thuggery.
My dad was in it back in the early 70s. He told me that it was dangerous. I mean, if the union members didn't like you, you could find yourself in an accident.
And with that, and she's tweeting this out saying that this is what's wrong with our side, when in reality, or this is what's wrong with the environment, or this is what's wrong with racism in America. And in reality, she's retweeting out facts about her own party, the Democrats. So I mean, it's just I couldn't help but point that out. Just a level of, and I'm not saying this to be mean, but she's just ignorant of the facts.
Well, and
she's young. I didn't know this stuff when I was her age.
I know. I didn't. I had to learn this stuff many years later of, you have to be red-pilled. Everybody has to be red-pilled. Right. Everybody. Why? Because the Department of Education blue pills the hell out of the entire population from 5 years old all the way up until, well, if you include college, all the way up until 22, 23, 24. It depends on how much postgraduate education you get. Right. And that's like a quarter of a century of learning, indoctrination into the blue pill environment. Right. And so everybody has to be red pilled.
Yeah, and this tweet by Megavolts001, hashtag Blue Lives Matter, hashtag Fox, hate hoax, Jesse, Chicago FOP plans protest to demand resignation of Soros-backed state's attorney Kim Foxx.
All right.
So you weren't you tweeting out to the Chicago Police Department? You guys better go on strike.
Yes, that's exactly right. I think that they should strike. It's weird. It's kind of like you swear to defend your fellow citizens in your city, and it's weird. How do you strike? Is that even Is there a precedent for that?
Well, you call the union up. If the union says to strike.
Fraternal order of police. It's just weird. It's like you're really letting your fellow citizens down on something that they didn't do by not protecting and serving as you promised to do. So to strike as a police force is definitely problematic because you don't, you know what I'm saying? You're not serving those that you're striking against. You're serving the people, the taxpayer, and all that kind of stuff. So
if you're on strike, you're not if you're on strike, you're not protecting.
Yeah,
because you're not actually working,
and you may actually get into some legal trouble as far as having a collective agreement to not police the city.
Right.
But my God, this is so bad, and I'm so glad that the police officers are standing up. The police chief is taking leadership, and Rahm Emanuel. I mean, for whatever reason, they didn't tell him. They needed their top dog, their top leader, which would be the mayor, to back them up on this. And he's out there being as outraged as he is, and it's like great. I think that's great.
Right. And so Megavolts 001 also tweeted this out. Former Deputy Assistant Attorney General, if convicted of corruption, State's Attorney Kim Foxx faces up to 20 years in prison. This article posted at the Gateway Pundit and the video of Deputy Assistant Attorney General.
She was afforded an opportunity that we have under our alternative prosecutions unit that in exchange for the community service and his bond forfeiture, the case would be dropped.
She lost her voice and her integrity. All right, how does one get a spot in the alternative prosecutions unit line? All right, let me guess. You're rich, you're privileged, you're an actor, and you share the political beliefs of the state's attorney, who, by the way, did not formally recuse herself. Joining us now, I'm delighted he's with us. John Yoo, John, of course, from Berkeley and former Bush Justice Department. What do you think about this? I mean, Rahm Emanuel suddenly is like, put the brakes on. Oh, no, President Trump, go to opening baseball. Cute.
First of all, I think a lot of Americans, myself included, are outraged by this. The fact that this guy faked a hate crime. Look, I'm a minority. You're a woman. What if we were to be attacked legitimately? And now we're going to be less believed by police and prosecutors because of the example of this guy. I think that's terrible. I think a lot of Americans realize something ought to be done. Second, this is why we have a U.S. Justice Department. Okay, maybe they just spent a lot of time investigating President Trump to no good effect. But now they actually exist to make sure there is no corruption going on in state government. If you look at the details of this case where Mrs. Obama's chief of staff calls the prosecutor, Kim Foxx, and then all of a sudden these machinations occur and then the case gets dropped, that is exactly what the Justice Department is supposed to be involved in, is to make sure that there's no corruption in state government. So I hope that President Trump is right and that the FBI are starting an investigation to look into this.
What's the potential criminal exposure here, both for Foxx and for the state's attorney office itself?
So Foxx could be potentially liable for what's called mail and wire fraud of depriving citizens of their honest services, which, if she's convicted, right, this is the standard law that's used to go after corrupt state officials. Suppose she got a bribe. Suppose she was promised a fundraiser, or who knows what other kind of influence to drop this case. The maximum sentence is 20 years in prison.
Why do you think Rahm Emanuel took that turn?
This takes a conspiratorial mindset. Yeah. I'm not sure if I have the right one, but Chicago politics, these are all people who are interconnected. They all worked in the Obama administration or are working for the Obamas now. And for Chicago city officials, doesn't it look like there's some kind of pressure or deal being made to make this all go away?
It's very, also Smollett himself, does he have any exposure under federal criminal law?
Oh yeah, his story's not over. Even though the case under state law could be dropped, he can still be prosecuted under federal law. So he used the internet, again, mail and wire fraud, to engage in a conspiracy to defraud, namely the people he's engaging in contract negotiations with, to defraud the people of Chicago, the city of Chicago. Plus, remember, he did this crazy thing before where he mailed himself fake chemical weapons. Right? He mailed himself a white powder, claimed it's anthrax, tried to report that to the police. That's actually a federal crime, is to create a hoax about using chemical weapons.
I don't think anyone understands this until you just said this. I really don't think anyone on television has explained it that clearly, but this is not unserious stuff. This is not just laugh about it. No, this is really, isn't this funny, this liberal actor kind of, it has to maybe pay $130,000. Whoop-de-doo, $130,000.
And I don't think Michelle Obama can call the Attorney General Bill Barr and get the charges dropped.
No, I don't think that's going to happen. John, it's always great seeing you. Thanks for stopping by.
So how do you feel about that? How do you feel about the prosecutor actually being prosecuted for illegal? Now, she did break the law in the state of Illinois. It says that she is not allowed, as a prosecuting attorney, to collude with the people that she's prosecuting, to collude with their side, to collude with the people on their side. And as you heard earlier, Kim Foxx is linked and supported by George Soros money. Kim Foxx and Kamala Harris actually worked together on campaigning. This is so incestuous, folks.
Well, in previous episodes here, I pointed out that why are we talking about Kim Foxx? Kim Foxx didn't throw this out. She recused herself. Well, we found out this week Fox's office backpedaled claims that the top prosecutor formally recused herself from the case after Tina Chen, former chief of staff of former First Lady Michelle Obama, pressured her to have Smollett investigation transferred from Chicago Police Department to the FBI.
Those are facts because we saw the text messages back and forth.
Yeah, it has to be formally, officially done. You can't just say, I recuse myself. I ain't got nothing to do with that.
I don't do nothing.
But it's interesting. You're seeing a cascade of people throwing each other under cascading buses.
Well, first off, if I was working in Chicago, I would start throwing somebody in the bus. One, because they deserve it,
sure.
And two, to prove or show to everybody I ain't got nothing to do with this.
Kim may have actually thought that she was going to be immune to any kind of criticism because she thought she recused herself. Now that legally, since she's not officially recused, they're going to come at her by saying because she wasn't officially formally recused, she's legally not recused, which makes her responsible for it. So that would be whoever her deputy that took over is obviously going to say, she didn't recuse herself. So everybody's throwing each other under the bus, and I find it hilarious. I think they're all going down because they all have a part in this.
Right. The last Republican mayor in Chicago, 1932.
Wow, that was a long time ago. Wow. It'd be the year before Prohibition was abolished or ended. It ended in 1933. So it's interesting. It's like ever since the mob had gained the power that they gained, it's been Democrat ever since. So if you guys have never seen the movie 13 Days or know about the Cuban Missile Crisis, in the movie, it's portrayed in the movie 13 Days. As JFK was making his rounds to all the different places, the Cuban Missile Crisis is going on, and he's trying to cancel these trips to address this crisis that he was also trying to keep secret from the American public to thwart any kind of panic that could happen. And there's a scene in there where he was supposed to go meet Mayor Daley from Chicago.
Right.
And there was an argument in the White House as to whether or not he could cancel. And finally, Kevin Costner's character says, I'm not canceling on him. And he's like, what, are you scared? And he's like, well, then you call him. And then the very next scene, they cut over to JFK in Chicago shaking hands with Mayor Daley. So apparently, even back in the 60s, everybody knew that the corruption was so deep and so powerful that not even JFK could cancel during a crisis so big that it could end all of humanity on Earth.
You got to get to Chicago, brah.
Yeah.
So it was William Hale Thompson, referred to as Big Bill.
Big Billy Boy.
Big Bill.
Okay.
He was mayor of Chicago for 3 terms from 1915 to 1923.
Wow.
and then came back again from 1927 to 1931. He is the last Republican to have served as mayor of Chicago to date. This by Wikipedia.
That's interesting. Now, it is true that Chicago really had its explosion when the mob from New York, the Italian mobs who gained so much power and wealth from Prohibition in New York, decided to branch out, and they had basically a branch of the Italian mob in Chicago, which is like your Al Capones and all that kind of stuff. And Prohibition ended in 1933, and I think there's a relationship there. I'm speculating.
I agree. Here in Cincinnati, it wasn't as prominent as Chicago, New York.
Oh, Chicago got big.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But in Cincinnati, my grandfather's sister on my mom's side actually dated a mobster here in Cincinnati.
Okay.
And would hang out over in
Northern Kentucky.
Newport.
Yeah, the original Sin City.
The original Sin City.
More history for you. Before Vegas was Sin City, it was Newport. Same place where Covcath is.
Yes,
interestingly.
Covcath, Newport,
so,
Kentucky.
Actually, well, it's not the exact same. It's across the river there. There's a little
you
river
go
there.
through it. Yeah, you go through it to get to Covcath.
They're like literally right next to each other. But yeah, Newport is the original Sin City.
And as we're talking about the Democrats and the sins that they've committed, oh, Lord. Adam Schiff was called out last night by Donald Trump, and rightfully so. Everybody's calling him out. This is beyond insanity. Even the Democrat voters have to look at Adam Schiff and just be thoroughly incensed with him because he's hanging on to this narrative that he started. That I have seen the evidence. Mm-hmm. It is out there.
He had a video out on Twitter today. I thought you could only do 2-minute, 20-second videos.
Donald Trump posted 2 7-minute videos.
Schiff posted a 5.5-minute video.
Somebody DM us. Give us a heads up on that. Is there 2 tiers of justice with Twitter?
Absolutely. Well, for a long time, YouTube had a policy where you had to have demonstrated something, longevity of some sort, in order to post a video longer than 10 minutes. That was the maximum.
Right.
And it wasn't until I think you were – I don't know if it was X amount of videos or X amount of time that you were on as a channel – but that only until you reached that threshold could you post a video.
We've been on Twitter since 2012.
Well, there's tons of people that can only do 2-minute 20. I think there's probably an exception for sitting congressmen and sitting presidents.
So Adam Schiff tweeted this out. I say this to President and his defenders in Congress. I'm sorry. What am I doing? This is Adam Schiff. I say this to the president.
He has a pencil neck.
To his defenders in Congress. You may think it's okay how Trump and his associates interacted with Russia during the campaign. I don't. I think it's immoral. I think it's unethical. I think it's unpatriotic. And yes, I think it's corrupt. Here's the video.
Turn to our witnesses who are the subject of the hearing today, but before I do, and as you have chosen, instead of addressing the hearing to simply attack me, consistent with the President's attacks, I do want to respond in this way. My colleagues may think it's okay that the Russians offered dirt on a Democratic candidate for president as part of what was described as the Russian government's effort to help the Trump campaign. You might think that's okay. My colleagues might think it's okay that when that was offered to the son of the president, who had a pivotal role in the campaign, that the president's son did not call the FBI. He did not adamantly refuse that foreign help. No, instead, that son said that he would love the help of the Russians. You might think it's okay that he took that meeting. You might think it's okay that Paul Manafort, the campaign chair, someone with great experience in running campaigns, also took that meeting. You might think it's okay that the president's son-in-law also took that meeting. You might think it's okay that they concealed it from the public. You might think it's okay that their only disappointment after that meeting was that the dirt they received on Hillary Clinton wasn't better. You might think that's okay. You might think it's okay that when it was discovered a year later that they lied about that meeting and said it was about adoptions. You might think it's okay that the president is reported to have helped dictate that lie. You might think that's okay. I don't. You might think it's okay that the campaign chairman of a presidential campaign would offer information about that campaign to a Russian oligarch in exchange for money or debt forgiveness. You might think that's okay. I don't.
So I had a response to that, to his tweet, and I responded with, "You can't make this up." Did you guys hear the very end of that video? The very end. It didn't happen till the very end. So my response was, I couldn't believe what I heard at the end. So I said, "You can't make this up." Rep. Adam Schiff actually cited lies to Congress by Trump's attorney, you heard him, Trump's attorney, as evidence that Trump-Russia collusion might be real. A reminder for those living under a rock, the attorney was Michael Cohen, who lied to Congress while testifying against Trump. So it was almost like I considered it an opposite. However, Michael Cohen replied to me.
Now this reply to Michael Cohen, I'm assuming what happened March 6th. Mm-hmm. That was his most recent debacle of lies.
Where he was lying through his teeth and he was being fact-checked in real time. We didn't have to wait till after the fact. Like Jim Jordan was interrupting him, pointing out that what he just said was demonstrably false. It was proven false.
And here's why. Yeah, and here's why.
So Michael Cohen said, yes! Yes! He actually, I'm quoting a tweet from Michael Cohen to me. Reply to Smith Radio. Yes! I lied to Congress. I took responsibility for my actions, and I'm paying an enormous price. But someone on the radio speaking to an audience, you have an obligation to be accurate. I lied about Trump Tower, the Trump Tower Moscow, and the Trump's family involvement.
And I'll do it again.
Yeah, he actually attached an article, which I didn't even read. Quote, she was not involved, how Ivanka's lawyer sought to influence Cohen's testimony. So I replied to him, well, as Jim Jordan and others pointed out, you lied again multiple times in your testimony against Donald Trump under oath. I don't think I need a lecture on accuracy from a man who puts his dirty hand on the Holy Bible and swears to God to tell the truth and refuses.
Right. You refuse to tell the truth there, little baby Michael Cohen.
After swearing to God that you would tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, there is a hot place in hell for you. It's as simple as that. And I'm not judging. I don't get to judge. But somebody will.
So Michael Cohen, Don Jr. tweeted out to you and said, if you hurry up and get a good plea deal, you might be able to share a cell with Manafort.
Okay.
Real quick, like. Right. Something like that.
Definitely not sharing anything with Jesse Smollett.
No.
He is
free to go.
Scot-free.
Yep, absolutely scot-free. Adam Schiff tweeted this out. President Trump went on Fox News and declared that Adam should be forced out of office because he's holding the president accountable. Chip in $5 or more to help us fight back.
Sponsored by Adam Schiff for Congress.
You know, I'm not sure if there are rules for using your account and raising money.
Probably not.
But this is so sad. This is pathetic.
Chip in $5 to help us fight back. So, I mean, look, Donald Trump was vindicated. They've been lying for 22 months about Russian collusion. There's been no evidence of Trump doing anything illegal or doing anything that would be construed as colluding, nor have anybody associated with the Trump campaign. I think that is pretty much the end of the story. They're calling for Adam Schiff to resign from his position in Congress.
He shouldn't be on the Intel Committee.
Right, the Intel Committee. It should be called the Stupid Committee. The opposite of intelligence is stupidity, right?
Right, would be the Stupid Committee.
He should definitely be the chairman of the Stupidity Committee.
And this should be his deputy chair, Nancy Pelosi.
I'm so proud of the work of Chairman Adam Schiff. In stark contrast to the irresponsible, almost criminal behavior of the previous chair of the committee. So what is the president afraid of? Is he afraid of the truth? That he would go after a member, a chairman of a committee, a respected chairman of a committee in the Congress? I think they're just scaredy cats. They just don't know what to do, so they have to make an attack. They did the wrong thing. American people know that. It's their own insecurity, their own fear of the truth, their fear of the facts, and their fear of an effective, patriotic leader in his measured way who's going to make sure the American people know the truth.
Isn't this just like Democrats? Isn't this what they always do? First off, I believe she's projection when she says they're scaredy cats.
That's projection.
Trump ain't scared of nothing.
Right.
So there ain't no scaredy cats. But two, this is their MO. Because of his title, you respect him.
Oh, because of the Intel Committee chairman.
Kerry, he's the chairman. He's the chairman, respected chairman.
So it's like respect the position, not the man?
Absolutely, 100%. That is your
That's
Democrat
why he
Party.
needs to resign.
Yeah,
because I have too much respect for that position. Unbelievable.
And, Speaker of the House, we couldn't have gotten any luckier with her becoming Speaker of the House once again.
I guess.
Just the babbling brook that she is.
Well, you know, it wasn't as great as I was hoping when we had Paul Ryan as Speaker of the House. He's establishment guy.
Yeah, the big, major problem with that. So we got Representative Mark Green. Folks, these Republican representatives are coming out, speaking loud, going to the mat for Donald Trump left and right. And you watch, mark my words, re-election and these guys very easily come this next cycle. Mark Green says at Representative Adam Schiff is a conspiracy theorist and he should not be leading the House Intel Committee. He said he saw evidence, and now we know Mueller has even confirmed there was no evidence of collusion. Schiff must resign immediately.
Resign because basically he has said he physically saw evidence that was convincing that the President of the United States had committed a crime. And now we find out that there was never any evidence that showed collusion of any kind. Mr. Schiff's standards of evidence are very clearly inappropriate, wrong. He should not be chairing the House Intel Committee. It makes no sense to have someone who can say that they saw evidence when there was never any evidence. I just think it's wrong. I mean, he's a conspiracy theorist, basically, is what he is, and he should not be leading the House Intel Committee. You know,
Yeah, and it's interesting. What Schiff would tell you is, didn't you see the video? The video that Brian just previously played a couple minutes ago was Schiff's idea of all the evidence of Russian collusion with Donald Trump, or vice versa, Trump collusion with Donald Trump and with Russia. And it's not real evidence. It's just what you don't like.
Right.
You don't like that kind of stuff, but some of it wasn't even real. Some of it's been proven false. And the stuff that was accurately portrayed by Schiff, which I never think or trust that anything that comes out of his mouth is accurate in any way, shape, or form, but let's just assume some of it was accurate, is just not illegal and not even unprecedented and nowhere near as bad as some of the things that your colleagues in the Democrat Party have been doing for a long time. We have the uranium one, hundreds of thousands of dollars for speeches in Russia.
And now we know for a fact.
No other reason than to pay her for favors.
Yeah, Obama, Clinton, the DNC colluding with the FBI in the Ukraine with Ukrainian politicians.
Yeah. And
Come on, man. As corrupt as it could possibly be.
At least you should accuse people equally.
Yes. And
be consistent.
And to round the show out on the biggest week that I can remember.
Yeah, this is pretty high.
So good. This week was incredible.
We're on high.
For Donald Trump and for our Make America Great Again, for our America First movement and keeping America great. This at the Gateway Pundit, it's official. U.S. is the first country in world history to increase GDP by more than $1 trillion in a year.
That's kind of amazing.
That is amazing.
It's pretty amazing. Wow.
You're not going to hear that anyway. Nobody's going to talk about this.
Well, Obama will probably take credit and say, look, what I did for 8 years is what you're finally seeing the fruits of my labor.
And what's so funny about that is the magic wand.
Oh, he said it can't be done.
Because some of those jobs of the past are just not going to come back. And when somebody says, like the person you just mentioned, who I'm not going to advertise for, that he's going to bring all these jobs back. Well, how exactly are you going to do that? What are you going to do? There's no answer to it. He just says, well, I'm going to negotiate a better deal. Well, how exactly are you going to negotiate that? What magic wand do you have? And usually the answer is he doesn't have an answer.
That's proof it's not his economy.
What's he got? He's got a magic wand. I'll play that for you, too.
Unbelievable.
And so Donald Trump calling it out. He even called, didn't he? It was either Don Jr. or Don Sr. that called out last night. I think it was Jr. called out last night the magic wand.
Oh, probably.
He said my dad's using a magic wand of sorts.
Yeah, that's a great clip because, as you said, it shows that you can't take responsibility for an economy that you said is impossible.
Right. And this clip last night, oh, folks, if you didn't join us and you want to watch the show over again, check it out. It's still up there. You go to the YouTube channels, Smith Radio YouTube channel, or New Right Network's channel, also on Facebook and Periscope at Smith Radio. You can watch the full event. It was really, really good. And Donald Trump just in the groove, in the moment, just really hitting on all cylinders. In this clip, drops a bomb.
Apologize in advance.
Apologize in advance, but this is President of the United States speaking. You must listen.
That's true.
The Democrats have to now decide whether they will continue defrauding the public with ridiculous bullshit.
Whoa! Nice! Nice! That'll wake you up.
So, as we say, folks, it's a family-friendly show. It is what it is, but...
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, the president leads by example. And,
he's fed up. He's talking about the Democrats, and he's fed up with all their BS.
Right. And the thing is that there were things, if you listened to our show yesterday, I'm going to repeat a little bit here, but he's the master of saying the things that's going to get him in the headlines. Right. I honestly don't even think the BS line is the big takeaway that's going to be headlines all over the place. I think it's more of the fact that he was showing narcissism in a playful way that I'm not going to say, oh, man, I wish he wouldn't be so narcissistic. No. I'm not going to be that way because, as some of the commenters said earlier or yesterday's show, that he has certainly earned this, especially what he's gone through for the last 22 months.
Rush Limbaugh. Gone from talents on loan from God.
Yeah.
Folks, that gets the left all twisted up. Donald Trump was absolutely in the right to speak as he spoke last night. He has well earned this. Here's some of the clips while we talk. I'll show you this one. The line of people trying to get into this event.
Yeah, we've seen videos like this in the past, but it was interesting to see that it just continues.
Right. And on and on and on. As you can see, the Donald Trump tweeting this out. And that's the only way this could be done. Nobody else is getting this information out except for Donald Trump and folks like us, the New Right Network tonight, the new media, folks. This is the real news.
Multiple times he pointed out the size of the crowd, and he put on it the caveat because he knew he was going to be lied about by taking out of context his numbers. He tried to say that there's 32,000 people there. Well, he also threw out there, if you include the ones that are in the overflow outside. And that was important for him to include that and necessary because Fake news is going to come out and say, that building didn't even hold 32,000 people. Trump is lying again like he always lies.
Well, if you see the video, you're looking at the video right now of the overflow, folks.
Yep.
Who's lying?
He was accurate. So for them to try to come out, that's why he throws out those caveats. He always says, now in the past, he would have to come back and say, no, what I said was accurate because of blank or whatever.
Well, he's getting in front of the lie. When they call you, Kerry, you're a liar, Kerry.
He's getting good at getting out in front of it.
Yep, getting out in front before they start calling you liar.
It's a skill.
Yes. And I from the show last night, I tweeted this clip out, this clip of Trump last night. And I called it. I said, that right there is the 2020 campaign. That right there is a home run. Knock it out of the ballpark because it's fact, not fiction, and we all feel it and we all know it.
We also recognize the legitimate government of Venezuela, and we strongly condemn the socialist brutality of the Maduro regime. We stand with the people of Venezuela and Cuba and Nicaragua and their righteous struggle to finally be free. We stand with them, doing a lot of work. Socialism is not a good thing, you're right. Each of us here tonight is united by the same timeless values. We believe in the American Constitution and the American rule of law. We believe in the dignity of work and the sanctity of life. We believe that faith and family, not government and bureaucracy, are the true American way. We believe in religious liberty, the right to free speech, and the right to keep and bear arms.
Unlike New Zealand, apparently. Folks, we were close in 2010 to losing the right to bear arms.
We believe that children should be taught to love our country, to honor our history, to be proud, to be happy, to love, and always to respect our great American flag.
Folks, I know he's preaching to the choir, but listen to what he's saying. Everything that Donald Trump is preaching about is everything that it's our basic rights that we desire. Killing babies is on the left. We cherish babies. The freedom to do what we want and live our own lives, not under socialism.
Right. Yeah, and he really points it out in simple words, and it might start to become background noise over time for you for hearing it so much. But just remember where we came from, how unlikely it was that somebody with absolutely no political experience at all would come along and bring his success, because we don't have a meritocracy in our political system. And so for you to convince anybody back in 2015 and 16 that somebody that's never been in politics before, but just a very successful businessman, to come along and to win it out of sheer merit, out of sheer brilliance and love of country and doing everything the right way and trying to make America great again would be successful, I would say, hell, I would love to see it happen. Everybody was like, man, wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be nice if somebody who could actually run this country with a real skill set to do so, as a former CEO of a successful giant corporation, to be able to become the CEO of America? Everybody was like, oh, that would be such a breath of fresh air. But everybody at the same time would be like, well, we know that's not going to happen. And so that's the way our mentality was back then. Don't forget it, because we can't go back to the way it was. We got to combat that.
Right. We absolutely have to combat it. And this is what is on display, and this is what we're combating. All of Ocasio-Cortez's speaking engagements, where she offers up crazy ideas given to her, written for her by the crazy far left, at Joe Concha TV. Ocasio-Cortez blames new Quinnipiac poll showing her at 23% approval nationally on concerted far-right propaganda and dark money internet operation.
Do what?
Yes, her Quinnipiac poll gives her a 23.
That sounds low.
Yeah, awful low. That's below 1/4.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Real
well,
low.
It's not surprising.
Well, but she blames it on far-right propaganda and dark money internet operations.
Of course she would. I mean, you got to say something because that's devastating.
Well, what was Clinton always saying? It's far-right conspirators.
Vast right-wing conspiracy. I can't even say it right. Neither of us. We're all on.
Vast far-right.
Not just vast right-wing conspiracy.
Okay. Vast right-wing. So she needs to pick up on that one.
If she said that, that's all people will think about is Hillary Clinton. Yes. She's the one that said that.
Right.
Yeah, she was defending her position there.
And this
back in the day.
Jack Posobiec, friend Jack Posobiec, tweeted this out. Huge MAGA crowds chant, AOC sucks, AOC sucks. This with Don Jr. up on the stage.
Oh, boy.
Mainstream leading Democratic contender is taking the advice of a freshman congresswoman who 3 weeks ago didn't know the 3 branches of government. I don't know about you guys, but that's pretty scary. You guys, you're not very nice.
People are having fun. Folks, if you've never been to a Trump rally, it is an all-day event. It is, you're in light company.
Yeah. You have to get there super, super, super early, or you're going to end up one of the 22,000 people left outside.
But still, the point is, those people that you're hanging out with, they instantly feel like family.
Oh, yeah, instantly, because you guys all have the same feelings on how to, first of all, what should be done to make America great, but not only that, but how to do it. I'll never forget when Roseanne Barr, she's been on the right and the left, so she could see both sides because she's been there, and she said, look, we all want the same thing. We all want solutions to the same problems. We want all this stuff fixed. We just have a different way of how to solve these problems. And so you get to these Trump rallies, and not only do everybody agree on what the problems are and what needs to be fixed, but how to do it. And so it's like it's just a great environment.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, if you haven't been to one, you absolutely need to get to one. And this is the Democrat platform on display at Trump 45.
How many 45s?
3.
Okay.
Because he's going to get elected, re-elected 2020.
No.
And then
No. Trump 45 was taken.
All right.
And then he tried Trump 45, and that was taken. So he said, let's try Trump 45.
Because it's 3, magic number.
Okay. And guess what?
It was available.
It was available. And so he was so excited.
Yes, absolutely. 20,000 caravan forming as we speak. This is being called the mother of all caravans. Are you kidding me right now? OMG, close the border. Enough already. And as you're watching that, this is the second video, if you will, of this caravan that is trekking up. This is what the Democrats want. This is what the evils of George Soros want. They want nothing to do but then just to tear our country apart.
That's interesting that he says that because Stefan Molyneux also tweeted out in response to Jack Posobiec. Jack Posobiec said, Trump, we're nearing a this is Jack Posobiec tweeting out that Trump said this. We're nearing 1 million illegal immigrants rushing our border. It's an invasion.
Yeah.
Stefan Molyneux responded to that by saying, you're the commander-in-chief of the most powerful military in the world. Why are you complaining about an invasion at a rally? So he clearly, based on my interpretation of that tweet, Stefan Molyneux was pretty upset about that. I had to defend Trump a little bit, even though I love Stefan Molyneux to death, and I'm a huge fan of his. So I'm not criticizing too strongly here. But I had to point out that it would look like Kent State.
Yes.
And so I said it would be a political disaster. I mean, it's not – when they say invasion – yes, it's an invasion, but they're unarmed. These people are not armed at all. I don't think it. Now, there may be some cartels and whatnot, but they're not trying to flood over the border. They're doing other things. The people that are just flooding over to try to get here are certainly not armed. For there to be an armed resistance against that by our military is going to end up looking like Kent State if they don't back off.
Right. Well, not only that, but I think that Donald Trump complaining about it, if you will, in the campaign speech, is to garner support. He's selling this.
For the wall.
Yeah, he's selling it.
So instead of having an army, an armed resistance of the invasion, the alternative is a physical resistance to the invasion, which would be a wall, barbed wire, whatnot, and other forms of security, such as drones and all that kind of stuff. So I was a little bit disappointed that Stefan Molyneux tweeted that out because I don't think that that's what Trump meant. That he, and by the way, he is using the most powerful army in the world in the form of funding for the wall.
Well, the Army Corps of Engineers, is going to start building the wall with the $1 billion gift just given to them.
Yeah, and not just the money to pay for labor and pay for materials, but also, it sounds like, labor by the actual military personnel. We're going to probably build it.
And so Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez tweets this out. Look at this picture. When you're looking at this photo, you're looking at a mirror. This is America. This is Texas. This is our course of action, the one we chose. I cannot and will not accept this. Hashtag end family separation, abolish ICE, reunite families, stop backers of hate. And as you look at the picture, this by Nick Miroff, this is El Paso right now, where hundreds of migrant families are being held in the parking lot of a Border Patrol station because there's no room for them inside or anywhere else. I replied to both of them. I said, yes, I agree 100% with you. This must stop. Send them home.
And build a wall to prevent this from happening. This happens because there's no wall. Also, the abolish ICE hashtag is very interesting and very telling. Something that she's going to be bashed with, and anybody else who also tweets out that hashtag. I pointed out during the show yesterday, and I'll repeat it again today, that I served in the Marine Corps. Brian served in the Air Force. Everybody who's ever served, who's ever said that they've served, are always approached with, thank you for your service, for defending our country, for defending our Constitution, defending our rights. And sometimes we're always thankful. But sometimes we feel a little bashful, like, oh, a little bit overstated. I don't know if I don't really feel like I deserve that. I was just, doing it, because I wanted to, not for the praise. But I'm going to tell you right now, as a Marine Corps veteran, the ones that are truly defending our nation right now is ICE. I consider them, as a Marine Corps veteran, I consider them heroes.
Absolutely.
And truly thankful for their service, for defending our country for real.
And not having the proper equipment, the tools, not having the backing of an entire political party called the Democrats, literally asking to have their organization abolished.
Right.
Saying that you are now out of a job and you are no longer to protect American lives on the border and to protect those who cross the border who need help. Folks, these ICE agents on the border, Border Patrol agents and ICE, they have actually saved people that have been in desperate need. I've heard of people passing out and little children desperately needing help and medical attention, and that's what they're there for. So for her to say this is just an absolute abomination. But go ahead, write the free speech, and I hope you keep saying it. Yeah. Because everybody knows who you are.
Keep disrespecting our heroes.
Yep. And you're listening to New Right Network tonight. Your host, Brian Smith, and
Carrie Smith.
Giving you all the breaking news of the day, wrapping it all up, making sense of it all, exposing the fake news, exposing the Democrats, exposing the real news as to what is going on with our economy, with our country. And again, I can't say this enough at Gateway Pundit. It's official. U.S. is the first country in world history to increase GDP by more than $1 trillion in a year, all due to the decisions made by Donald Trump to create an atmosphere to where corporations and citizens of America, workers of America, can literally work as much and as often and make what they want and demand what they want. And it's out there. Folks, that's what capitalism is. When unleashed and let go and don't unmaligned by the government, because then it becomes socialism, then you see a beautiful thing happen.
That's right. And don't forget that we sent Donald Trump to do this very thing. So pat yourself on the back for voting for such a great president.
Absolutely. You guys have a good evening. Catch us every Monday through Friday, 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern. Have a good Friday night. Enjoy your weekend.
Absolutely.
We'll see you on Monday.
See ya.
You've been listening to New Right Network, mobilizing, countering, energizing. Online at newrightnetwork.com.